Come, sweet death. Come, blessed rest. Come lead me to peace, for I am weary of the world. Oh, come, I wait for you. Come soon and lead me. Close my eyes. Come, blessed rest.
Dr. McKeever.
Hi, Eric.
You fucker. I wrote you a script line for like the first time in history, and you screwed it up.
All right, do it again. Do it again.
Greetings, Dr. McKeever.
Hello, Dr. Schwartz.
Yes! Hey! That's right, folks. Our long national nightmare is, at last, over.
That's just entirely not true. Your personal nightmare might be over, but our national nightmare is long lasting, my friend.
Spiraling ever further out of control, actually.
My God.
But I, on the other hand, I am done burning the candle at both ends. I am indeed, at last, a true Jewish doctor. Yes! I'm living every Jewish mother's dream, John. I really, really am. Are you proud of me or what?
I am so proud of you. I know this was a long and tedious path, but now you're a doctor and you are qualified to do what exactly?
I definitely think I'm qualified to podcast about heavy metal.
All right, well, then let's do that.
All right. 7 years well spent.
Sure.
Mama Schwartz is so proud. Anyhow, we are not here to talk about me and my many impressive accomplishments today. No, sir. Let's us get directly to the very important matter at hand here on HM 101. John Deadman McKeever, my surly and sinister comrade, today is going to be a day where we kick back a bit. We're gonna slow things down. We're going to stop and smell the decaying blackened roses. John, today is the day where you and I are going to look directly into the haunted, forlorn eyes of death itself and say, fuck yeah, that shit, my brother, is groovy.
Yeah.
John, it is doom metal time. Are you ready to rock or what?
Well, it's interesting that you ask if I'm ready to rock, because I did think that a lot of this music sounded like more generic rock than it did metal to me. So I look forward to exploring that more.
All right, we're going to be generically rocking. That'll be ever so much fun. Look, more specifically today, following a brief time warp which will allow us to look back upon the early evolution and development of the doom metal subgenre itself, we're going to discuss the fragmentation of doom which occurred during the 1990s and the many delightfully fetid sub-genres that emerged as a result. Now that's going to be fun, isn't it?
I hate this so much. This is just pointless assery to classify music so finitely that by the time you've created a genre, there's just one band in it. That's not a genre. That's just a band. This is dumb.
So you're not a fan of the sub-genre?
No.
You're not alone. I mean, I think there are a lot of people out there who find it obnoxious how overly we categorize bands in heavy metal in the 21st century. Not one of those people. I love a good category.
Of course not. You love making things more complicated than they need to be.
All right, well, look, John, you are a pretty chill, yet morbid fellow. Slow and somber music, I would think, would suit you. Without getting into too much detail at this early stage, and I admit I've been able to infer some of this from our text discussions today, but what are some of your impressions re the doom metal and related subgenres you heard on the playlist I provided for you?
Well, I didn't immediately hate everything you made me listen to as much as I thought I might.
Woo!
I was, as I told you, I listened to this playlist when I was unable to actually pay close attention to the songs in terms of information about them. So I was kind of curious in listening when in time these songs came from because they all sounded older to me than I think they actually were.
Yes.
And I once again find myself asking, what is the point of having lyrics if you cannot understand a word that is being said?
All right. There is a whole bunch of funereal, dark beauty, and perhaps just a soupçon of primal rage on today's agenda. It's like John in a nutshell. John, are you okay with all of that?
Am I okay with a me nutshell podcast?
Yeah.
No, I don't like being explored. I prefer to remain confusing and mysterious.
All right. Well, we'll try and do both at the same time. We will chew gum and walk, and it will be beautiful. Just beautiful.
Prologue. Doom Metal 101. A vanishingly brief history of doom across the 1960s through 1980s. Definition.
John, as I mentioned, you are a really doomy sort of a guy. I, in fact, think that perhaps John Doom McKeever might be a nice nickname for future consideration. With that in mind, what, if anything, can you tell our lovely listeners about doom metal?
It's slow. It's, I don't know if it is actually tuned down or if everything is just really lowly keyed.
Most of it is tuned down, yeah.
Yep.
You nailed another one in your earlier remarks, just so you know.
Was it the thing about it being for stoners?
Oh, that's true. You mentioned that as something we discussed via text thread, and that's absolutely true, that this is a generally stoner-friendly subgenre writ large, and even has a stoner-specific subgenre that we'll talk about at the end of it today.
I'm trying to remember what else I said that was so many hours ago.
What you just said is that it sounds old.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's got a real penchant for retro sounds and retro recording techniques and guitar timbres and stuff. All right, let's do that thing we do where we cite our sources. We get all academic and such, as doctors, and pull quotes from people who maybe are smarter than you or I. In other words, let's let some other fucking people do the heavy lifting and define doom metal for us. According to the good people at the indispensable resource that is allmusic.com, quote,
inspired largely by the lumbering dirges and stoned paranoid darkness of Black Sabbath, doom metal is one of the very few heavy metal subgenres to prize feel and mood more than flashy technique, though the latter can certainly be present. Even more indebted to Sabbath than most metal, doom metal is extremely slow, sludgy, and creepy, feeling so heavy it can barely move. Its deliberate pace and murky guitars are meant to evoke, what else? A sense of impending doom.
I like it. We have herein the slow tempi, heavy, dark mood, and Sabbath worship that is central to so much of the doom metal we shall be discussing today. But, just in case anyone is still confused, let's pull in just one more source and see what the editors at the LandGeek website had to say about doom metal. Quote,
a subgenre of heavy metal music that is characterized by slow tempos, heavy and down-tuned guitars, dark and melancholic atmospheres, and often features deep, growling vocals.
Ooh, okay. Growling vocals. Now that's interesting. I might suggest that the LandGeek folk may be a bit younger than the AllMusic folk, as classic doom metal tended to be associated with the clean, almost beatific tenor of singers like our beloved, dearly departed Ozzy Osbourne. Well, it was the death doom pioneered in the 1990s, which first brought said deep, growling vocals into the fold. Still, two things can be true at once. Like, for instance, that my beloved co-host John is simultaneously an absolute sweetheart and a grumpy son of a bitch. Right, John?
Yep.
Alrighty then. We've defined doom, and in so doing, have also made some note of its evolution over time. Let's look still more closely at the historical origins and early development of doom.
Early history. The 60s and 70s.
Music historian types love to trace the origins of doom to, of all artists, the Beatles.
Wow!
John, does this surprise you?
Yes.
Any idea what Beatles song is oft-cited as amongst the earliest exemplars of proto-doom metal?
I just read ahead, so I saw the answer, but I'm not going to spoil it. I'm just going to say that's a fucking stretch.
All right, fair enough.
These goddamn musicologists.
We do like to stretch whenever possible. I buy it, but all right. On September 26, 1969, the Beatles released arguably the greatest rock album of all time, Abbey Road. Side 1 of that album concluded with the Lennon-McCartney penned dirge, I Want You, She's So Heavy. Now, John, would you agree that that is a rather dark, slow, heavy, and dare I say it, doomy track?
I'll give you dark, slow, and heavy. I don't think there's anything doomy about the nature of the content.
Maybe not the lyrical content, but that riff is pretty, it's pretty grim.
I'm gonna take umbrage with that. I don't think you can call that a doomy riff. I'll give you dark. It's dark, but it's not like, yes, this riff is imbued with the soul of man's just depravity and the cursed state that we all exist in. Fuck you guys. Stop it. Just stop it.
Are you arguing with a straw man right now? Is that what I'm witnessing?
I'm just tired of the bullshit academics put on music. They're just goddamn notes.
Bunch of nonsense. Well, look, if it makes you feel better, following not far on the heels of Abbey Road was the February 13th, 1970 release of the eponymous debut of the mighty Black Sabbath, at which point both heavy metal and many of its future subgenre offshoots, including doom metal, were born. The slow tempi, caveman riffs, keening, pleading, tenor singing, and dark lyrics of Sabbath provided the template for basically all doomy music that would follow. John, would you agree with that assessment?
I guess. I don't know. It feels like we should really talk about that album at some point on this podcast.
You mean the first Black Sabbath album?
Yeah, it seems like you always are bringing it up. It seems like something we should probably cover at some point.
I hate you so much. I want to cry. We're done! We're done! Look, we have talked the ever-loving fuck out of the great Black Sabbath already on this podcast. So we are going to look at another significant early doom adopter, the band Pentagram. Yes. Now, John, as you famously worship the dark arts, why don't you introduce us to this important band?
Pentagram, hailing from Alexandria, Virginia.
Alexandria!
Were co-founded in 1971 by singer Bobby Liebling and guitarist/drummer Jeff O'Keefe.
Bobby Liebling, a man who, in 2025, managed both to release an excellent new Pentagram album, Lightning in a Bottle, and to become a meme. John, are you aware of Bobby Liebling's relatively recent memification?
I bet I'll recognize it when I see it, but I sure can't think of any what must be old man music memes.
Okay, you're about to see one. Here, for your edification, is said meme.
Oh, I have seen that meme before.
I thought you would recognize it. Look, this is your specialty, the skill for which you are the most internationally renowned person in all of the world. For those not looking at said picture, could you describe it?
Which would be everyone, because this is a fucking podcast and we don't do video because we're not cool. So here we are. All right, so you guys all know this meme. This is the meme of the very old guy standing at a mic, holding the mic, and then he's got long gray hair that's being blown back, and he looks like he's just seen a bomb go off and knows he's about to die in 10 seconds. And it's just like a look of sheer terror, but like wind-blown terror. I'm looking closer at this meme than I ever have. Is he wearing velvet?
Yeah, he's totally wearing velvet. Very Black
Wow.
Sabbath-y, actually, that outfit. Sort of classic Sabbath.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Little crushed velvet action going on.
Yeah.
It is an adorable meme. However, it may seem a touch less adorable when one learns of Liebling's lifelong drug addictions, his history of sexual harassment, and the fact that in 2017 he went to jail for beating up his 87-year-old mother.
Yikes!
John, would you agree that this makes the meme a little bit less adorable?
First of all, fuck you for making me hype up a horrible person. Second of all, maybe he did actually just see an explosion and isn't about to die, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, probably not, but still, you never know.
Did he die in an explosion recently?
No.
All right, so we know. We
Right.
know. We know, Eric. We know! God damn it.
Despite Liebling's admittedly problematic life, Pentagram are an exceedingly important early doom metal band. Although they formed all the way back in 1971, they didn't begin to record what would eventually become their first album until 1981, and they didn't complete and release their self-titled debut until 1985.
Note, their debut was re-released in 1993 by Peaceville Records with a new track order and a new title, Relentless.
Liebling was, and is, a total fucking mess, but they were, and are, a very good doom metal band. Proceed with caution, but do proceed to check out Pentagram, and most especially their debut album, whether entitled Pentagram or Relentless.
Doom in the 1980s.
I mean, let's face it, despite their early 70s formation, Pentagram were, at least as discographies go, doom in the 1980s themselves. And in fact, the very same could be said of their exact contemporaries from the left coast, Sirith Ungol, who also originally formed in 1971, and who also didn't record any albums in the 1970s. Sirith Ungol, a band whose early work had one foot planted in doom and the other firmly planted in the nascent power metal subgenre, released their debut, Frost and Fire, in 1981. Their even doomier second album, King of the Dead, from 1984, is a particularly significant landmark in 80s doomery. Now, John, would you agree that doomery is definitely the best way to say that?
Absolutely.
The Nawabum
That's the new wave of British heavy metal to you and me.
also provided us with some significant 80s doomery. Most especially via the bands Witchfinder General and Pagan Altar. Witchfinder General's 1982 debut, Death Penalty, is a particularly important exemplar of early 80s doom. And that album also featured exposed boobs on its cover. John, I'm sure you'll agree that that's not nothing.
It's not. I will also say Witchfinder General is a good band name.
Ooh, it is. It's also a movie with Vincent Price, if you've never seen it. Anywho, arguably the most important of all the post-Sabbath bands were the proverbial Big Four of doom metal. One of these was Pentagram, who we have already mentioned. The other three were
Trouble! Trouble! Trouble!
Chicago's most favoritist doom metal sons, Trouble, first came together in 1978 and released their classic debut, Psalm 9, in 1984. They released their first three albums on Metal Blade before eventually catching the eye of John's second favorite bearded Jewish guy, Rick Rubin, who signed them to Deaf American and produced their self-titled fourth album, which was released on February 13, boom, 1990. Trouble are a fun band, but now is not the time nor the place to go further into their storied career. Instead, let's just note two quick fun facts and then move things the fuck on.
Fun fact 1. Much of their lyrical content, especially on their early releases, came directly out of the Bible. As such, they were originally marketed as a white metal band by Metal Blade.
Insert edgy, but aren't all metal bands white? Joke here.
Nice.
Kidding. There's too many white dudes, yes, but there are plenty of brilliant dudettes and people of color as well in the metal megaverse. Anyway, the white metal label, of course, was meant to contrast with the emerging black metal idiom then being pioneered by bands like Venom and Merciful Fate.
Fun fact 2. Eric's beloved musical hero and former Heavy Metal 101 guest, Corey Clark, of the band Warrior Soul, sung for Trouble from 2008 to 2012.
A friend of the show! Yay, Corey! Sadly, they didn't record any albums during that span, but I still think it's very neat. Next!
Number 2. Saint Vitus. Saint Vitus. Saint Vitus.
Herein we have yet another American doom metal band, this time from sunny Los Angeles, who also formed in 1978 and also released a debut in 1984. However, it was Saint Vitus's third album, Born Too Late, released in October of 1986, that is their true blue classic. Saint Vitus are one of those bands who are better known to the connoisseur than to the general public. Now, John, would you describe yourself as a doom metal connoisseur, or are you, in this instance, the general public?
Well, Eric, I've listened to 6 whole doom metal songs, so what do you think?
I think you know your shit. Backwards and forwards, Dr. McKeever. Well, Paul Cott, of AllMusic, described Born Too Late as sounding like, quote, Black Sabbath on Quaaludes and wearing lead suits underwater. Whoa! Now, does that sound like a good time or what?
Sounds like a good way to die.
Absolutely. Between you and me, Jay Shizzle, I'm actually not a particularly huge St. Vitus fan myself. That said, they are a significant exemplar of classic doom metal. And speaking of significant exemplars of classic doom metal...
3. Candlemas. Candlemas. Candlemas.
Last but not least, of Doom's proverbial Big Four, we have Candlemas, Swedish practitioners of what some like to refer to as epic doom metal. The dudes in Candlemas came together in the future death metal hotbed of Stockholm in 1984 and released a massively significant debut, Epicus Doomicus Metallicus, on June 10, 1986. Now, John, if I recall correctly, that is not your very favoritist album title of all time, is it?
It's a stupid name. It's dumb. I don't like it.
Hey, I think it's funny.
This is not the place for humor. This is not Weird Al.
You're right. It's all about primal rage. This is primal rage territory. Well, it's a really good album, for what it's worth. And Nightfall, Candlemas's sophomore release from 1987, also totally rules. They're a good band. So there you go. We have now completed our quick tour through the cobwebby, dank, underground catacombs of early doom. Before we move this party forward in time, let's have ourselves a formative doom listening break. If I had to play just one early doom song, it would most certainly be something by Black Sabbath. Probably Hand of Doom. That song fucking rips, and it even has doom in its title. But we all know Black Sabbath. We all love Black Sabbath. So let's give someone else a little bit of our love.
On endless nights, my need to roam. I've come to desecrate your bones as maggots crawl amongst your flesh. You're soon to meet the truth of death.
Yes, John. Yes! Perfect! Let's listening break The Ghoul by Pentagram. I think that will do nicely. Listener, pause the podcast, click the link, and John and I will be back to explore the state of doom as the 80s faded to inky black and the 1990s loomed darkly on a foreboding horizon.
And then doom, fracture. Doom Fragmentation in the 1990s, Part 1. The Peaceville 3.
Firstly, allow me to note that the Peaceville in this famous formulation is the British independent label Peaceville Records, founded by one Paul Hammy Halmshaw in 1987. Peaceville began by working in John's favorite genre of all the genres, crust punk. However, more importantly, for our purposes here, is that as the 80s waned, Peaceville became increasingly associated with doom, and particularly with three legendary British doom bands. John?
Those bands were number 1, Paradise Lost, who formed in Halifax in 1988. Number 2, My Dying Bride, who formed in Yorkshire in 1990. And number 3, Anathema, who hailed from the Beatles' hometown of Liverpool, and who also first came together in 1990.
The Peaceville Three. Collectively, these bands are known for pioneering two doom subgenres. First, death doom, and then gothic metal. Though it was Paradise Lost, really, who led the way in both of these innovations.
Paradise Lost and Death Doom.
John, were you at all familiar with the legendary Paradise Lost prior to being confronted with two of their tracks on the playlist I assembled for you for this episode?
No!
Alright, well, currently 17 albums deep, and with one of the more stable lineups in all of heavy metal history, Paradise Lost really and truly are an iconic band. While they have gone through quite a few drummers over the years, the rest of the lineup has been remarkably constant, and certainly merits an official HM 101 roll call. John, call ye olden roll, would ya?
Paradise Lost always was, and still is, singer Nick Holmes, guitarists Greg McIntosh and Aaron Adey, and bassist Steve Edmondson.
And for the record, Matthew Archer was their drummer for the two albums we'll primarily be discussing today, Lost Paradise and Gothic.
Lost Paradise and the emergence of Death Doom.
The fragmentation of doom truly began when an assortment of death metal bands, including Hellhammer/Celtic Frost, Autopsy, Obituary, and Dream Death, started to experiment with an amalgamation of death metal and the slower, weightier heaviness of doom. Paradise Lost, arguably, were the most important of the early adopters, and their debut album, Lost Paradise, which was released on February 5th, 1990, kicked off Death Doom as truly and definitively a thing. John, with this release, we get a variation on one of our favorite tropes, the band Paradise Lost, on the album Lost Paradise, performing a song called Paradise Lost. Love it! I love it so much, in fact, that I included that song on your playlist as an example of the Death Doom subgenre. Your thoughts?
Oh, I was doing okay, and then they did the vocal thing.
Growl.
And I gotta be honest, this particular low growly vocal bothers me less than some of the stuff we've heard on the more extreme side of things, like the death side of things. But again, why bother writing words? Like, why not just have that be an instrumental track and just have someone going in the background? Like, why put text to that? It's so pointless.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Nick Holmes is going to slowly but surely completely shed the extreme vocal technique and will eventually sing like a somewhat modified version of James Hetfield from Metallica. Yeah!
Right.
Well, you asked about the lyrics. I mean, I know you're curious about the lyrics. So here are a few lyrics. Claws of death grip my life. Empty my mind and my knowledge is deceased. Mindless and numb, instincts gone. Running in circles, not knowing where my fate lies. Damn. Look, I'll note that with Death Doom, we often get themes of existential dread, which are quite different from the slasher/gore lyrics of much early death metal. Both thematically and musically, Paradise Lost really were breaking new ground. They were not yet at the peak of their powers, but they were already doing important things. In a retrospective review, Eduardo Rivadavia of AllMusic wrote, quote,
On this, their modest debut, Paradise Lost helped define the rules of doom/death metal. Yet, even as they were laying down the blueprint, Paradise Lost was already reaching for realms unknown to their then amateurish abilities and latent promise.
Paradise Lost were always an ambitious band, and they would seldom stand still, artistically, from one album to the next. But before we consider their next evolutionary step, I'll note that the other members of the aforementioned Peaceville 3 began their respective discographies in more or less the same existential, gloomy, death doom idiom. My Dying Bride's debut, As the Flower Withers, released on May 26, 1992, added the sounds of a violinist and horn player into the death doom tableau. And Anathema released their debut, Serenades, on February 15, 1993. Variations on the death doom theme therein included clean female singing on J'ai fait une promesse, and the bold decision to close the album with a 23-minute plus ambient track entitled Dreaming the Romance. Fun! Death doom, baby. John, let's give the listeners an opportunity to sample the raw ferocity of this early iteration of death doom in the young but capable hands of Paradise Lost circa 1990. DJ Dr. Doom, why don't you introduce the track and lead us into this next listening break?
Okay, you crazy kids out there in Radio Land, get ready to have your socks rocked by Paradise Lost. From the album Lost Paradise, with the track entitled Paradise Lost. Eric and I will be back on the other side for more good, wholesome fun with Paradise Lost and other purveyors of doom, doom, doom.
What makes the Peaceville 3 truly great is not so much where they began, but how each band evolved. Paradise Lost began that process immediately following their debut by incorporating the post-punk and goth of bands like Dead Can Dance and Sisters of Mercy into the sound of their sophomore album, appropriately entitled Gothic, which they released on March 19, 1991. This time around, the Death Doom pioneers still did play some amount of Death Doom, but they also busily pioneered a new subgenre, Gothic metal. Now, John, were you ever a goth?
Fuck no. Can you imagine?
I can't imagine.
No.
I'd love to see it. I'd
No.
pay money to see it, but I can't imagine.
That was never my scene, man. Absolutely not. I was dorky nerd through and through from time immemorial.
And now you're just the coolest guy in town. Who would have thought it?
Also not true.
I, on the other hand, I may have painted my nails black, worn a wee spot of purple lipstick, and attended the occasional goth club back in the day. Perhaps. Hell, it's even possible that my toenails are painted black as we speak.
I feel it's important for the listeners to know that Eric sends me pictures of his toenails way more than any other straight man should send to another straight man.
I think it's an appropriate amount personally, but...
I have never sent you pictures of my toenails. You have sent me pictures of your toenails, I want to say, maybe once every couple of months. Quite frequently.
I mean, usually only when they're freshly painted. It's not like I do it for no reason.
Kind of feels like you do it for no reason.
Look, what can I say? The Cure is one of my favorite bands in the world, and I am indeed a goth at heart. Anywho, clean, angelic female vocals, orchestral sheen, a whole lot of haunted darkness, and existential dread. Gothic, baby. The early stages of Paradise Lost's first major musical transition can be heard in the opening title track, which I, thoughtfully, included on your playlist. John, did you like this new musical territory into which Paradise Lost were now wading?
I have to be honest, it was around this time in the playlist that I was beginning to feel that this music was all feeling kind of garage bandy to me. And what I mean by that is it just felt all very repetitive. Like they established the drums, they established the bass, they established the riff, and then they do that the whole time. And it was not bad. It's not like I disliked it, but I did find it a little monotonous.
I could see that. I figured you wouldn't hate this music, but I thought you might be a little bored by it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a vibe, and if you're not really feeling the vibe, I don't know that
And
you...
I don't vibe.
Yeah, like as just a blanket statement, you do not vibe.
Yeah.
That's fair. Well, could you hear the difference between the Death Doom version of Paradise Lost and the Gothic metal version of Paradise Lost?
I guess there are sort of big tonal differences, but it didn't feel like, oh, I'm listening to a different band now. You know, it still felt pretty similar.
Yeah. Despite being incredibly fluid in their music making, Paradise Lost always sound like Paradise Lost, even when they're doing like electronica dubstep shit like the end of the decade. They still sound like Paradise Lost. All right. Now we know that Paradise Lost began to go goth circa 1991. But what about their Peaceville 3 compatriots?
My Dying Bride followed their debut with a more plaintive, poetic second album, Turn Loose the Swans. And by the time of their third release, 1995's The Angel and the Dark River, they had more or less left the death behind and had fully embraced their inner goth. Anathema's second album, The Silent Enigma, was a gothic-esque death doom/gothic metal hybrid. After that, according to Eric, quote, they basically became a goth metal version of The Cure for the remainder of the decade.
Which is a fucking fantastic thing to be. I actually especially love Anathema's later 90s albums, which may or may not be heavy metal, but which are really and truly gorgeous. My Dying Bride, by contrast, are generally a bit too sad sack, even for me, and I find their discography to be fairly uneven. Still, some of their stuff is quite excellent, and all of this music is absolutely and totally worthy of exploration. Meanwhile, Paradise Lost had a truly fascinating run of albums across the remainder of the 90s. Following Gothic, they released an album most people don't talk much about, but which I think is their very, very best. The sludgy, awesome Shades of God from 1992. They then pivoted again, more or less becoming a Metallica doppelganger on Icon, 1993, and even more so on Draconian Times, 1995. Now, in candor, I don't much love either of those albums, and after that, beginning with the album 1 Second in 1997, they increasingly embraced electronica, picked up a ton of new fans, and pretty much totally lost me until well into the 21st century when they finally started making kick-ass death doom once more. But we will always have Gothic and Shades of God, John. They can't take those away. And so, before departing these dank, gloomy English shores, let's us take a listen to a little bit of early British goth metal, courtesy of the title track from Paradise Lost's excellent second album, Gothic. John and I will be back with purple, pouty lips and some profoundly sad poetry on the other side, on the other side, on the other side, on the other side. And speaking of the adjective Gothic...
Doom Fragmentation in the 1990s, Part 2. Type O
According to our new yet beloved pals at Langgeek, goth metal is, quote,
a genre that combines elements of gothic rock or dark wave with heavy metal, featuring dark melodies, powerful vocals, and symphonic or orchestral elements for a dramatic and grandiose sound.
As we have already witnessed, goth metal was pioneered by the ever-evolving Peaceville 3, and most especially the developments in Paradise Lost's sound following their Death Doom debut. Some other significant early adopters include Tiamat and Catatonia from Sweden, the Dutch band The Gathering, and the Norwegian band Theatre of Tragedy, who are especially well known for pioneering what came to be known as the Beauty and the Beast approach of mixing clean female and harsh male vocals. Now, John, we're both dudes, but which of us do you think would be the beauty, and which of us would be the beast in that particular scenario?
It's not even a question. I am 110% the beauty.
All right. I'll allow it. I will allow it. Arguably, the biggest and best band to fully embrace goth metal was the great, the wonderful Type O Negative. Who were led by the mighty magnificent hunk of man meat that was Peter Steele, R.I.P. John, could you introduce our kindly listeners to what was one of my very favorite metal bands to emerge in the 1990s?
Type O Negative arose from the ashes of a significant hardcore crossover band, Carnivore. Eric would like it noted here that he hasn't forgotten about crossover and does plan to address it at some point in the not-too-distant future.
Really and truly, I swear, I have a plan.
Upon the demise of Carnivore, Type O Negative came together in Brooklyn, New York in 1989, synthesizing the crossover sound and sense of humor of Carnivore with an ever-widening Gothic streak. Founding members included Peter Steele, bass, lead vocals, Kenny Hickey, guitar, co-lead vocals, Josh Silver, keyboards, backing vocals, and Sal Abrascato, drums and percussion.
Fun fact, Type O Negative are sometimes known as the Drab Four. Isn't that a whimsical nickname?
So much whimsy.
Anywho, Type O Negative released a good but somewhat unfocused debut, Slow, Deep, and Hard, on June 11th, 1991. This is an album known for wacky tunes such as the opener, unsuccessfully coping with the natural beauty of infidelity, as well as a steadfast refusal to deploy the use of the Oxford comma in the album's title. John, are you an Oxford comma guy?
I absolutely am.
Yes! Me too. Now, John, could you please provide us with 2 more fun facts re this significant debut album?
1. The recordings on Slow, Deep, and Hard initially appeared on a demo called None More Negative, released under the band name Repulsion. After the band found out that there was another band using this name,
the extremely significant early American grindcore act from lovely Flint, Michigan,
they changed their name to Type O Negative. 2. The cover image was taken from a porn magazine and is a close-up of a penis entering a vagina during sexual intercourse.
Now, for all its flaws, Slow, Deep, and Hard was a very interesting debut, and all the Type O Negative elements are indeed there. Goth goodness, Steele's indelible vampiric vocal delivery, hardcore punk underpinnings, and an offensive, oft delightful sense of humor.
Yeah.
At this point, this was all just a bit out of the proper balance that the band would eventually strike. It is a good start, but much better things were on the horizon. Eventually! But not yet!
May 12th, 1992, Type O Negative releases a fake live album entitled The Origin of the Feces.
John, how do you like that there title?
Why is it The Feces?
As opposed to The Origin of Feces?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was funny, now you're ruining it for me.
You're welcome.
Still makes me giggle. The Origin of the Feces was actually recorded in a studio, but crowd noises, on-stage banter, and even a fictitious bomb threat were added to make it seem like it was all recorded live. Why? Who the fuck knows? They were a silly band. I think that probably the most important thing about this odd little sophomore album is that it started the tradition of Type O Negative recording cover songs performed in their signature Gothic metal milieu. The Origin of the Feces included the band's cover of Hey Joe, a song of disputed authorship made especially famous, of course, by the great Jimi Hendrix. Okay, John, could you now provide us with perhaps our funnest fact yet, re Type O Negative?
The original cover of The Origin of the Feces featured a close-up photo of singer Peter Steele's anus and came with a thematically appropriate scratch and sniff sticker.
fun. Too much fun, maybe. Alrighty. Now, much, much better things were on the immediate Typo Negative horizon.
August 17th, 1993, Typo Negative released their breakout album, Bloody Kisses.
In 1993, Typo Negative finally got their shit really and truly together and released what I believe was one of the most important metal albums of the decade. John, I included the most famous track to emerge from Bloody Kisses, the wonderful classic Black #1, Little Miss Scarrow. You may not enjoy their anus-scented scratch and sniff stickers, but what did you think of this premium exemplar of Typo Negative's delightfully idiosyncratic brand of goth metal goodness?
I can tell I'm going to upset you, but this was categorically the song I hated on the playlist. I hated this song. Yeah, I hated this song. It was so confused. It was so all over the place. And I have said this before. I don't like songs that don't have endings. I hate fade outs. This song is an eternity long, 11 minutes long. And it had like 16 different endings. Like it tried to end itself so many times and then just kept circling back to the same stupid chorus and starting over again. And then after those 16 fucking fake endings, it ended with a fade out, which made me almost punch the wall in my house.
Oh no, this one made him angry.
I hated this song, Eric. I hated this song. I'm getting mad again thinking about it.
Love it! Well, the liner notes for Bloody Kisses included this lovely dedication. Quote,
"This entire opus is respectfully dedicated to all those who have loved unconditionally only to have their hearts unaesthetically ripped out. Base not your joy upon the deeds of others, for what is given can be taken away. No hope equal no fear."
John, have you ever had your metaphorical heart unaesthetically ripped out?
I don't think I have.
Oh, good for you. See, that's why you can't appreciate the beauty of Typo Negative.
That must be what it is.
You haven't experienced the profound pain.
My fortunate love life is what has led me to not be able to empathize with this shit.
Ugh, it's crushing. It's really crushing.
Woe is me.
Woe indeed. Woe indeed. This music, and most especially the two singles, Black #1 and Christian Woman, as well as the Seals and Crofts cover, Summer Breeze, which was prominently featured in the 1997 film I Know What You Did Last Summer, struck a nerve. Bloody Kisses became the first album on Roadrunner Records to certify gold and eventually went on to platinum certification. Wow! That's pretty good for a band that had only recently been putting genitalia and assholes on their album covers, right?
It's just so dumb.
So I think Typo Negative, it's the point in the road where John and Eric diverge from each other. I feel like we found it. This is the place.
Great. Is the podcast over?
No! We're coming back together. Don't worry. We're coming right back together. Look, like pretty much every metalhead of a certain age, it was the song Black #1 that first put Typo Negative onto my radar, and I immediately became a fan for life. Well, that song never, despite tons of MTV airplay, managed to crack the Billboard Top 100 singles. John, you will be pleased to know that Rolling Stone eventually named it the 64th best metal song of all time. So it must be good. It's certified good. Rolling Stone said it, John. When has Rolling Stone led us astray?
I was going to say Rolling Stone, the magazine we famously hate because we think they're all a bunch of idiots. Also, 64th.
Yeah.
That's not good.
I mean, I wish I had the 64th best metal. That's not bad.
Okay.
Wow. So negative. We may well go on to cover Typo Negative in more detail at some future point, but perhaps not.
Nope.
Based on recent discoveries I've made. But I will note here that they would go on to release 4 more excellent albums prior to Pete Steele's untimely death on April 14th, 2010. A big man with a big penis.
Aww. Note, Pete Steele posed fully nude for Playgirl in August of 1995. Eric has indeed seen his penis.
Who we will miss forever and ever. John, I'm tempted to do one of those John describes something on a podcast.
Jesus Christ. Hey, let's not do that. I know we aren't shy about getting the explicit rating here, but let's skip that one.
All right, fair enough.
That feels unnecessary and irrelevant to the music.
Gilding the Lily, that's what that is. Let's us now tributize the late great Pete Steele via a video break. I'll note that unlike the album version of Black Number 1, which as John noted weighs in at over 11 minutes and 15 seconds specifically, the video edit is just 4 minutes and 43 seconds long. It is a true classic and was an important moment for us goth metalhead types. I felt seen. It's great stuff. Pause the podcast, click the link, and John and I will be back and ready to break doom metal up into ever teenier, tinier, little pieces on the other side.
Doom Fragmentation in the 1990s, Part 3. Side quests. More fragmentary Doom subgenres in less detail. Fucking liar. There's no way.
John, you love it when I go into less detail.
I don't believe you are capable of that.
John is dubious. Look, before we make our way to our grand finale, I just wanted to briefly introduce a few other fabulously fascinating Doom subgenres which our listeners might wish to explore. Here's how it will work. John, you're going to name the subgenre, and then I'll offer a pithy, clear definition, maybe editorialize just a tiny bit, and then suggest a few significant bands worthy of exploration from within said subgenre. Sound good?
Fucker.
Oh, you'll love it. Let's go.
Drone metal. Drone
metal. Perhaps the most challenging and prickly metal subgenre of them all. Drone metal is an idiom which, unsurprisingly, emphasizes the use of drones. No, not the kind with which you take naughty videos of your neighbor sunbathing. No, sir. These are the sorts of drones that involve long, sustained sounds, typically played herein at insanely high volumes and with oodles of distortion and feedback. The patron saint of drone metal is the avant-garde composer Lamonte Young. John, I'm assuming he's your patron saint as well?
Wrong again.
Damn it! I'm off my game tonight. Metal minimalism, baby! Important practitioners include the band Earth, not the Earth that was proto-Black Sabbath, but the Olympia, Washington-based Earth, founded in 1989, and Sun, whose name is indeed pronounced Sun, but which is spelled Sun-O, parentheses, parentheses, parentheses. Sun, incidentally, are also from Washington State. John, they appear to like their drone metal in Washington State. Isn't that nice for them?
I mean, that's kind of a sound aesthetic they would have grown up with all the hippies that moved up there in the 70s and 80s, so I can see that.
I can see it as well. That's entirely fair. Now, are you excited about the very meta drone metal episode I have planned, in which we're going to attempt to speak as slowly as humanly possible about the history of drone metal over the course of an approximately 16-hour recording session, all accompanied by shrill feedback?
Here's the fun thing you don't know is that every single one of these episodes just like creates this piercing ringing in my head. So I've actually been doing that for however many years we've been doing this podcast already. I'm ready to go.
You've been in training for this very moment. This is great. It's going to be so good. So good. Next!
Funeral doom.
Well, I actually don't have much patience for drone metal. I really do love a lot of funeral doom. Bands like Bell Witch and Ahab rule. John, are you a Bell Witch guy?
Never heard of her.
It's actually two dudes, but I get it. It's a great band. Long songs, but very cool. Anyhow, Funeral Doom is more or less just an extreme-er iteration of Death Doom. It's slower, it's doomier, it's sadder, it's dirgier. Often, funeral doom will have moments of great prettiness, which tend to warm the cockles of my heart. Aww. Funeral doom, like the sauna, first began in icy Finland. It is the band Thergoten's mesmerizing soul release, Streams from Heaven, which is oft pointed to as the first funeral doom album. Another Finnish band, Skepticism, were also significant pioneers. Viva Finland! John, were you previously aware that funeral doom is essentially the sauna of doom metal subgenres?
No.
You learn something new every day. Next!
Depressive, suicidal, black metal.
John, now you really do seem like a depressive, suicidal, black metal sort of a guy. Are you, in fact, a depressive, suicidal, black metal, aka DSBM, kind of guy?
Listen, Eric, in spite of the fact that I am now on my 17th waking hour for this day, I'm actually happy as shit and super lighthearted. I'm fun, goddammit. It's just this music you make me listen to that pisses me off.
And we love you for it. Basically, what we're talking about here is a synthesis of raw black metal and doom, with a particularly strong lyrical penchant for such fun-filled topics as suicide, self-harm, depression, death, and other subjects of that ilk. The most important band with at least 1 foot formerly in said subgenre was Sweden's Great Catatonia. But Shining, also from Sweden, are very significant long-running practitioners as well. Now, John, it would appear that the Finnish are funereal, while the Swedish are suicidal. Were you aware of that distinction?
No.
Yeah. And meanwhile, over in Norway, they just like to set fire to old churches and murder each other. Next!
Last, but most certainly not least, sludge metal.
Okay, unlike all of the genres above, which are quite niche, sludge was one of the most central and important heavy metal subgenres to emerge in the 1990s. A synthesis of doom and hardcore, sludge was first pioneered by Melvins in the 80s and would eventually become central to the idioms of some of the biggest bands in all of metal. As such, you're just gonna have to wait for a future sludge metal episode to learn more. John, it's a cliffhanger. Who doesn't love a good cliffhanger?
I'm just going to come out and say it. Melvins, terrible band name.
Classic band.
Terrible band name.
Wow, it's a hot take.
That's a bad band name.
All right, look, I think it's about time for our final stop on today's doomed carousel of slow terrors. So, John, get out your water pipe, because it's time to get a bit stoned.
Doom Fragmentation in the 1990s. Part 4. Stoner Metal. Stoner Metal 101.
Now, I recently attended an online lecture at which a heavy metal scholar suggested the idea that the first metal band was not, in fact, Black Sabbath, but rather was the San Francisco-based Legends Blue Cheer. John, as co-host of this wonderful podcast, I assume that you also frequently attend virtual lectures out in the academic metal sphere?
I don't even attend academic lectures in my own academic field. I cannot clearly state my disdain for musical academia enough. I have a doctorate. I work at an R1 university as a music professor. It's all stupid.
But you love and respect my doctorate, right?
I'm really proud that you got a doctorate. I don't give a shit about any of this.
That's fair. That's fair. But still, I enjoyed the lecture.
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, I like stuff like that. I do. But despite enjoying the lecture, I didn't really buy the argument, because I think that far too little of Blue Cheer's admittedly seminal 1968 debut, Vincebus Eruptum, could reasonably be described as heavy metal. Still, with their particular brand of what one might call heavy psychedelic acid blues, Blue Cheer are most assuredly to be listed as among the forefathers of stoner metal, the final doom subgenre, which we're going to explore today. Now, for the last time, according to the good people at All Music, quote,
Stoner metal bands updated the long, mind-bending jams and ultra-heavy riffs of bands like Black Sabbath, Blue Cheer, Blue Oyster Cult, and Hawkwind by filtering their psychedelia-tinged metal and acid rock through the buzzing sound of early sub-pop style grunge.
And they go on to inform us that, quote,
Stoner rock is typically slow to mid-tempo and features a heavily distorted, groove-laden, bass-heavy sound, melodic vocals, and retro production.
John, are you getting the gist?
Seems clear to me.
Now, just for clarification, are you currently, as we record this, stoned?
I am not.
In the interest of authenticity, would you like us to pause the recording and then you can come back after you've had the opportunity to become stoned?
Hey, I'm never going to yuck anybody's yum except for the people who like this music, but no, I'm good.
Okay. Should I do that?
Hey, it's free country, man.
All right. Look, I suppose we're just going to need to make do as is.
A note on desert rock.
The terms desert rock, stoner rock, and stoner metal are all used somewhat interchangeably. Desert rock, specifically, is used in reference to bands that emerged from the Palm Desert, California scene in the early 90s. This, most famously, included the band Caius, who we won't be otherwise talking about today, but who certainly were an important early stoner metal band. Get baked and go listen to their 1992 album, Blues for the Red Sun, if you'd like to hear what that was all about. Now, before we get out of here, let's talk about two of the most important and most starkly contrasting bands to emerge from 90s stoner metal. John?
Number 1, the Good Trip Band. Sleep.
Hey man, is that Sleep?
Yeah, man.
Well, turn it up, man! John, you're probably too young to appreciate that delightful reference to the Freedom Rock compilation commercials from the 1980s. But for anyone pushing 50 and over, 95% of our audience, that was a deliciously esoteric reference. You're welcome. Of course, that underscore wasn't actually Sleep, since we can't afford the licensing rights, but the point is still made. Sleep is fun, stony, hippie metal. A band who provides us with fun-filled psychedelic lyrics like,
Ride the dragon toward the crimson eye. Flap the wings under Mars's red sky. The reptile pushes itself out into space, leaving behind the human race.
as taken from the Sleep classic, Dragonaut. But who are Sleep, John? Why don't you give us a wee introduction?
Sleep, hailing from San Jose, California, were founded circa 1990 when the trio Asbestos Death, featuring singer-bassist Al Cisneros, drummer Chris Hakias, and guitarist Tom Choi, brought in second guitarist and singer Matt Pike, then replaced Tom Choi with Justin Marler, and finally became Sleep.
Sleep released their debut, entitled, in loving tribute to Black Sabbath, Volume 1, on February 14th, 1991. This was an auspicious and exceedingly stony debut, but more importantly, it provides us with our first of 3 sleep-related fun facts.
Sleep-related fun fact number 1. Following the release of Volume 1, guitarist Justin Marler left the band and all of his worldly possessions and became a monk in, of all places, Alaska.
John, I bet you didn't have Alaskan monk on your bingo card for today, did you?
I'm gonna be honest, as someone who grew up in Alaska and spent 17 years of his life living there, I didn't know we had monks.
Yeah, apparently so. The debut was very solid. However, it would be their second album that would put Sleep at the tippy top of the stoner metal Bong?
November 1st, 1992, Sleep released Holy Mount, Holy Mount, Holy Mount, Holy Mount.
They sure did. The opening track, Dragonaut.
Note yet another Black Sabbath reference, this time to the song Supernaut.
Is a stoner metal statement of purpose par excellence. John, I included this track on your playlist. Did you dig it?
I didn't dislike it. I mean, it's funny because I did pick up on the fact that this feels like music for stoners. So I guess mission accomplished.
Mm-hmm. Well, how about you provide us with a second sleep-related fun fact?
Sleep-related fun fact number 2, Sleep recorded demos for their second album and then sent them off to Earache Records for perusal. Earache were so enamored that not only did they sign the band, but they released the very demos they received as the final album.
A note that following Holy Mountain, shit went sideways for Sleep. Well, simultaneously, they also managed to write and record their seminal masterpiece. Of course, the story behind said masterpiece, Dope Smoker, which was recorded in 1996 but not officially released until 2003, is so damn confounding that I think it simply must needs wait for another time. John, that's a second cliffhanger. Are you on tenterhooks or what?
The good thing about being me is that roughly 7 minutes from now, I will forget that we even spoke about this, so I will not be left wondering what the story really is.
That's real nice for you. All right, let's give folks one last sleep-related fun fact, sashay our way into a Dragonaut listening break, and then close things off by taking some bad acid, tripping balls, and discussing the fearsome Lectric Wizard.
Sleep-related fun fact number 3. Following all the attendant difficulties of recording and releasing their album Dope Smoker, Sleep broke up. Al Cisneros and Chris Hakias went on to form the exceedingly idiosyncratic stoner metal band Ohm, who incorporated non-Western and Eastern Orthodox iconography into their work. Matt Pike went on to form High on Fire, who Eric believes are one of the very best metal bands of the 21st century.
Matt Pike rules. He's fucking crazy, but he rules. More on them some other time. So many cliffhangers. Okay, sleep listening break time, you frickin' hippies. Enjoy the good vibes while you can, because it's gonna get real dark on the other side. On the other side. On the other side.
Bad Trip Band. Lectric Wizard.
A seed of hate from the day I was born. My right to vengeance from me has been torn. Hopeless and drugged, my black emotions seethe. Loveless and cold, my hate begins to breed. John, would you agree that those lyrics, taken from the song We Hate You, a track off of Lectric Wizard's Dopethrone album, have a very different vibe than that which we just heard from Sleep?
Yes.
Dark Stuff. Lectric Wizard, whose motto is legalize drugs and murder, offer up a very different take on stoner metal. The bad trip to Sleep's good trip. Anyhow, you did such a bang-up job introducing Sleep. Why don't you do the same for Lectric Wizard?
Lectric Wizard came together in Dorset in 1993 as a trio. Just Oborn, vocals guitar, Tim Bagshaw, bass, and Mark Greening, drums. Their name was derived from 2 Black Sabbath songs, Electric Funeral and The Wizard.
Those stoner bands sure do love them some Black Sabbath. Of course, so do I. We have that in common. Anyhow, Lectric Wizard released a pretty okay self-titled debut in 1994, but it would be their subsequent releases that would lead them to the top of the stoner metal... still bong, I guess.
November 9th, 1997, Lectric Wizard released their sophomore album, Come My Fanatics.
While Sleep were singing about weed and spiritual transcendence, Come My Fanatics was inspired by scary movies, bikers, and most especially by the cosmic horror of H.P. Lovecraft. Of the album, the delightfully named Hairy Sword, writing for Noisy, wrote that it, quote,
ushered in a new era for Doom, engineering a full-on scuzz attack that felt cosmic in reach and was anchored by a very human rage.
For the uninitiated, I'd suggest track number 2, Wizard in Black. That's the good stuff. However, the Wizard had still greater depths to explore as the decade roared to a close.
August 3rd, 1998. Electric Wizard release, Super Coven.
This was just a 2-song EP, but the 13-plus minute title track was one of their deepest, darkest songs to date. However, it would be their third full-length, the 71-plus minute Dopethrone, released on September 25th, 2000, which would be Electric Wizard's masterpiece.
Funeral Planet. Dead Black Asteroid. Mausoleum. This world is a tomb. Human zombies staring blank faces, no reason to live. Dead in the womb. Death's shroud existence, slave for a pittance, condemned to die before I could breathe. Millions are screaming, the dead are still living, this earth has died. Yet no one has seen.
Yeah, that sounds about right. John, I included track number 2, Funeralopolis, from whence came those morbid lyrics, as your official sample of the insanity that is Electric Wizard. What did you think of their particularly maleficent, suffocating take on Stoner Doom?
I mean, it's not for me. It's not an aesthetic I'm likely to enjoy. My biggest complaint is that it's very monotonous. The song was almost 9 minutes long and had very little differentiating material.
See, I think my biggest complaint is that you weren't stoned. How is one going to appreciate Electric Wizard and not be stoned? It doesn't even make sense.
First of all, you didn't tell me to. Second of all, I wouldn't have because it just gives me a headache and makes me want to take a nap. Third of all, if you have to be impaired to like music, maybe the music's not very good.
This song is one of the few in Electric Wizard's discography to focus on a political matter, the slow destruction of planet Earth by peoples, but certainly still stays true to their darkly nihilistic tendencies. I'll note that Funeralopolis has over 23 million plays on Spotify. Wow! Which I think is pretty fucking impressive for a 9-minute excursion into super dark, super heavy stoner doom. So somebody likes this music, John. I mean, I like this music. I think this is a great tune.
The world is full of dumb people.
That I will not argue. On that, we are in accord. 21st century doom, we have now arrived. This culmination of Electric Wizard's trilogy of terror, Come My Fanatics, Super Coven, and Dopethrone, is very much the yin to Sleep's dope smokers' yang. And it was those two albums particularly that would point the way forward for stoner bands in a brave new millennium. But that, of course, is a story for another time. Let's take one final listening break to revel in some Electric Wizard darkness before closing things off on the other side. We're doomed, John! Doomed! And I love it. I just love it. How have you enjoyed meeting your doom today?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like every other day.
Just another day at the office.
Oh, boy.
We have such fun here. And we couldn't do any of it without our darling listeners. Before we hit the bricks, John, could you maybe remind said darling listeners of the things that they can do in order to support this here podcast?
Well, Eric, listeners could support the podcast by signing up to our Patreon page.
Just $3 a month for access to exclusive content. The link is in the show notes.
And by rating and reviewing us wherever they listen. And by sharing our episodes on social media.
All of which is just so damn appreciated. You can also always reach out to John and I via either social media or email. Just check out the show notes for those links as well. John, we have just one more episode to go before season 5 is a wrap. Can you believe that?
I'm not going to lie. I kind of thought this was the last episode, and I was sort of looking forward to a break.
All right, anyway. I think it's crazy because time really does fly when you're having fun. And getting a PhD. Woo! Thanks again for listening, everybody. We love you. Dr. John and Dr. Eric will be back for more fun-filled adventures in podcasting next month. Until then, peace!
Peace.